What's happening, guys? Welcome to Slip the Jab Boxing. Hit the like, hit the subscribe button. Let's get into it. Right, so I just finished watching the face-off between Daniel Dubois and Anthony Joshua. And I've got to say, I was looking for a bit more entertainment than I got, but it was an interesting watch. I think Anthony Joshua seemed a bit... He seemed relaxed, but it's like he wanted to put across he was a lot more confident than he was. I think with Anthony Joshua, he has a perception of who he'd like everyone to see him as. And so when he puts that out there, it comes across a bit... what's the word? It doesn't come across as genuine. You know, like sometimes he tries to sound very profound and smart, and then you just get a bit confused by what he's talking about. Or sometimes he tries to look serious or intimidating, and I mean, you can see that's what he's trying to do, but it just seems a bit like forced, for want of a better word. So I'd say he looks relaxed, but he is definitely feeling the nerves. I'd say that. But that's not necessarily a bad thing. You know, nerves could make you put in the best performances of your career. Daniel Dubois just looked like he was just here for it, you know. He looked like he knew what he was there for. He's just relaxed, ready to go. Yeah, I think because it appears that he doesn't live so much in his mind, you know, overthinking things and thinking heavily in general, it probably creates a way more relaxed vibe for yourself when it comes to big events or big stages, especially when you've been through them before. So whereas Anthony seems to be quite a deep thinker or an overthinker, you've got Daniel Dubois on the other side, who seems to be the opposite. And I think that shows, because deep thinkers tend to be quite cautious people, I don't want to say nervous people, but, you know, through the very fact that they're overthinking certain things, sometimes you end up thinking yourself into despair. What happens if this happens? What happens if that happens? Whereas when you're not an overthinker, you're kind of just here for the ride, and what happens, happens. So that's what I'd say I saw from both of them. I wouldn't really say anything that was said really stood out to me. Definitely, I noticed that AJ was way more willing to bring up the old sparring stories from before. I mean, the sparring stories is that what I first heard was that Daniel Dubois had knocked down AJ. That was what made me first hear about Daniel Dubois. I can't remember what boxing platform it was, but there was an interview where they spoke to Daniel Dubois. They asked him, have you knocked down Anthony Joshua in training? And he smiled. He said, yep, that happened. But they were very, very quick to kind of disregard that as, you know, sparring ages ago. We've left that behind now. They didn't really want to address that situation. So I think they know that, you know, the truth was embellished quite a bit when it came to that sparring story. I think having both promoters there was, well, I guess more necessary for Daniel than it was AJ. Both of them seem confident in their fighters. There's nothing that Eddie Hearn said that made me feel like, okay, he's nervous. He feels like, you know, Anthony Joshua might lose here. And Frankwarren has always seemed to have like an unwavering amount of confidence in Daniel Dubois. So I wasn't surprised in him basically putting forward Daniel Dubois as a champion, or I was going to say already, he is a champion already, but putting him forward as the better fighter and basically just speaking about the limits of his mind. And I agree, you know, I think that Daniel Dubois is only limited by his mind in terms of how he approaches boxing, how he can motivate himself when things aren't going in his way. I can't say that, you know, the quitting and all that kind of stuff is behind him, but I definitely did notice that when Ade spoke about that label being approached to him was the only time, or that label being attached to him rather, that was the only time I saw Daniel kind of look a bit uncomfortable, pissed off, like, oh, why are you talking about that sort of vibe? So I definitely feel like he wants to leave that behind. He doesn't want that to be his label, which is good. You know, if you're determined not to have that label, it more than likely means when the going gets tough, you're going to remind yourself to keep going rather than to just sink into yourself. I think when it comes to AJ now, as he said, as Eddie Hearn said, he's been in this situation so many times now. Big fights at amateurs, big fights in in the pros, that this is normal to him now. This big pressure situation, this, oh, if he loses, he could retire. This, if he loses, where does he go next? This is Anthony Joshua just all the time, pretty much. I mean, how many fights in was it that he won his world heavyweight championship? 16, 15, something like that. So this is nothing new to AJ. And in that sense, I'm sure he feels comfortable in that this is just another fight where, you know, if he loses, everyone jumps on him. If he wins, great, we move forward on to the next one. I was surprised to hear him still talking about Undisputed. I didn't really think that was still the motivation. I don't know if that's just the correct thing to say, or if that's what he perceives as the correct thing to say. Because I kind of thought that was given up on. I mean, if he becomes undisputed but never sees Usyk again, will he get the respect he deserves for it? I don't know. I don't even know what I would think at the time. I guess being undisputed deserves its own respect in its own right. But when there's a fighter that everybody knows that you need to see again, or everybody knows that was able to put you in your box, and then you had to wait for him to disappear to become number one, it kind of takes a bit of the shine off of the achievement, which I don't know if that's fair or not, but that's just the way it goes usually. So this video obviously ended up culminating with the handbags that we basically saw in the preview. Which I actually really enjoyed. That you can't intimidate me. You can't intimidate me. I like seeing Daniel like that. I enjoy it. Like I said, I think when AJ starts to get aggressive, it just seems very forced. Like, I don't feel like this is AJ being genuine. This is more just AJ like, oh man, I can't let someone punk me on TV, so let me just do something, you know? But with Daniel, it just seems like I'm here for it. I'm here for it. If you're here for it now, I'm here for it now. September 21st, I'm just here, you know? It seems like he actually is ready to go. Not to say AJ isn't ready to go, but the intimidation factor just seems to be forced. Just doesn't seem to be real, or not real, but just seems to be very forced and put on. I haven't decided who I think is going to win out of this fight yet. I will let people know in my preview video, but it was an interesting watch. You know, I'm really, really excited for this fight. I can't wait to see it. September 21st. I will be definitely tuning in. So I want to know what you guys think. What did you guys see in the video, if any of you have watched it? What did you see? Did you see the same things as me? Do you think AJ was looking super confident? Maybe you think Dubois was looking really nervous. I don't know. It's interesting to hear different people's perceptions of what they saw. I'm no psychologist, so I'm just giving my opinion on what I see, and I'd love to hear yours. So guys, let me know in the comments. Right, take it easy.